Have you ever noticed that in Indonesia, the mobile phone service providers seem to almost move in lockstep? When one offers a new data package, the others quickly follow with something similar. Or how airline ticket prices can feel strangely coordinated. This isn't a coincidence. What you're seeing is a classic economic structure called an oligopoly. It's a market with just a handful of big players, and it shapes so much of our daily economic life, from how much we pay for our internet to the price of instant noodles. So, what exactly is an oligopoly? Think of it as a middle ground between a perfectly competitive market with tons of small sellers and a monopoly with just one dominant company. In an oligopoly, you have a few large firms that hold most of the market share. The key feature here is something called strategic interdependence. This fancy term means that each company's success doesn't just depend on its own decisions, but heavily on the actions and reactions of its competitors. Let's imagine a simplified market with just two companies, a duopoly. Say they sell bottled water. If company A decides to lower its price, it has to think, will company B match my price cut, leading to a price war where we both make less money? Or will they hold their price, allowing me to steal their customers? Every move is a calculated risk, like a high-stakes chess match. This constant what-if game is the heart of an oligopoly. Strong barriers to entry, like high startup costs or strong brand loyalty, also help keep new players out, preserving the small club of dominant firms. To really understand the behavior in an oligopoly, we need to talk about a famous concept from game theory called the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine two partners in crime are arrested and held in separate interrogation rooms. The police don't have enough evidence to convict them of a major crime unless one of them confesses. They offer each prisoner a deal, unaware of what the other is being offered. Here are the options. If both prisoners stay silent, they'll both get a minor charge, say 1 year in prison each. If one prisoner confesses and implicates the other, the confessor goes free while the silent partner gets a harsh sentence like 10 years. But if both confess, they both get a moderate sentence, say 5 years each. Now, put yourself in one prisoner's shoes. You don't know what your partner will do. You think, if my partner stays silent, my best move is to confess so I can go free. If my partner confesses, my best move is also to confess, so I get 5 years instead of 10. No matter what the other person does, confessing seems like the best individual choice. The problem is, your partner is thinking the exact same thing. So, they both confess and end up with 5 years each. The dilemma is that if they had both stayed silent, if they had cooperated, they would have only served 1 year each. Their individual self-interest leads them to a worse collective outcome. This is exactly the situation firms in an oligopoly face. Let's go back to our Indonesian mobile providers like Telkomsel, XL Axiata, Indosat, and Hutchison. They know that if they could all agree to keep prices high and limit their data packages, acting like a single monopoly or a cartel, they could all make enormous profits. This is the stay silent option, but each company has a powerful incentive to cheat on this unspoken agreement. One provider might think, if everyone else is keeping prices high, I could secretly offer a slightly cheaper, more generous data plan. I'd attract a flood of new customers and my profits would skyrocket. This is the confess option. The problem is, once one company starts cutting prices, the others have to follow suit to avoid losing all their customers. This triggers a price war, and soon enough, everyone is back to competing fiercely, and their profits are much lower than they could have been if they had all just cooperated. This tension between cooperation for mutual gain and competition for individual advantage is constant. So why don't these markets always collapse into destructive price wars? Because in the real world, unlike the one-shot prisoner's dilemma, these companies interact over and over again. They build reputations. A company known for aggressively undercutting its rivals will find it hard to ever achieve a stable, profitable truce. This is where tacit collusion comes in. It's an unspoken understanding. Firms might signal their intentions through public announcements or follow a price leader. One dominant firm raises its prices, and the others quietly follow, knowing that it's in everyone's best interest. This can lead to outcomes that look suspiciously like a cartel, even without any secret meetings in smoky backrooms. This brings us to the crucial role of government and public policy. Most countries, including Indonesia, have antitrust laws and competition authorities to prevent oligopolies from acting like monopolies. In Indonesia, this body is the KPPU, the Commission for the Supervision of Business Competition. The KPPU's job is to police the market for anti-competitive behavior. They look for things like price fixing, where companies explicitly agree to set prices at a certain level. They also investigate market division, where firms agree to carve up a territory, like you take Sumatra, I'll take Java, to avoid competing with each other. One famous case in Indonesia involved the airline industry. The KPPU investigated several major airlines for alleged price coordination, particularly around the price ceilings for tickets. The suspicion was that the airlines were not competing on price as fiercely as they should have been, leading to higher costs for travelers. Another prominent example, as mentioned, is the telecom sector, which has faced scrutiny over pricing and service bundles. These investigations show the government trying to push the market outcome closer to a competitive one for the benefit of consumers. However, enforcing antitrust policy is tricky. Is a company just smartly responding to its competitors' prices, or is it secretly colluding? Sometimes, what looks like collusion is just parallel behavior, where firms independently come to the same conclusions about the market. For instance, if the cost of jet fuel goes up for all airlines, it's natural for all of them to raise their ticket prices. That's not collusion, that's just a market-wide response to a shared cost increase. There's also a big debate over mergers. When two large firms in an oligopoly want to merge, like the merger between Indosat Ooredoo and Hutchison 3 Indonesia, it reduces the number of competitors. This could lead to less competition and higher prices. But on the other hand, the newly merged company might be more efficient, leading to better products, and potentially lower costs that could be passed on to consumers. The KPPU has to weigh these potential harms and benefits very carefully when deciding whether to approve a merger. Another controversial area is resale price maintenance. This is when a manufacturer, say a high-end smartphone maker, tells retailers the minimum price they're allowed to sell the product for. Proponents argue this ensures retailers provide good customer service instead of just competing on price. Critics say it's just a way to keep prices artificially high for consumers. The KPPU has taken action against such practices in various sectors. So, living in a world with oligopolies is a mixed bag. The intense strategic competition can sometimes drive incredible innovation. Think about the race for 5G network quality or the constant new features being added to our ride-hailing apps like Gojek and Grab. This isn't just about price. It's competition on quality, service, and features which directly benefits us. However, the temptation to cooperate and keep prices high is always there. Without a vigilant watchdog like the KPPU, there is a real risk that these few powerful firms could use their market power to squeeze more money out of our pockets. The goal of public policy isn't to break up every big company, but to ensure they compete fairly and don't collude. It's about finding that delicate balance, fostering innovation while protecting consumers from the potential downsides of a market controlled by just a few. The next time you see gas stations on opposite corners with the exact same price, or when you're choosing a new mobile plan, and the options from different providers look remarkably similar, you'll know what's going on. You're witnessing the complex dance of oligopoly, a game of strategy, cooperation, and competition that defines so much of our modern economy. Thanks for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the economics of everyday life. See you in the next video.